My name is Jose Ceja Garibay. I am one of the transfer services managers working with the transfer admissions office at Oregon State University. And I do work with prospective students. I work primarily with students transferring from Chemeketa, Lane, and Nampa Community College. And so typically when I get to work with students or someone in this particular role, we work with the students to ensure that they have a smooth transition from community college to OSU. So anything related to the admissions process, questions about the application, questions about how credits will come in. So really, if the student is wondering about just anything about OSU, we are the primary contact, and then we start connecting them to different resources depending on what the questions are. So
hi, my name is Jennifer McBratney, and I am an admissions and recruitment coordinator for Portland Community College. And a lot of people wonder what that means, like why a community college would be recruiting students. But I don't necessarily like to think of it as recruiting, but what I try to do is let students know what opportunities PCC offers if they choose to take that opportunity. So what majors we provide, the financial aid we provide, our locations, just different information about what it means to be a college student at PCC. In regards to transferring, I also kind of help advise what that process would look like if you start at PCC or at a community college and transfer to a four-year university to get a bachelor's degree. And so, having somebody like me in your court is really helpful because we not only can help answer questions about the programs we provide, but help you find programs out there in universities that are available to you, but also just to help you with some of those more challenging things like financial aid and scholarships and all of that process. So it's really helpful to be in contact with the college that you're planning on going to so that you know that you're doing all the things that need to be done so that you're confident and ready to start school when you graduate and are ready to start.
Luke Reyes-White. I am a transfer admissions counselor working at Portland State University. I work primarily with transfer students from Portland Community College that have last names starting with the letter A through the letter L. And I also work with our transfer students from Chemeketa Community College. Why my job is important, or why the reason I can be helpful for you all is because I exclusively work with transfer students. Like Jennifer said, I don't consider myself to be a recruiter. I consider my job to be more of advising and helping students get connected to resources. So it's never too early to talk to your eventual transfer destination, and hopefully I can help you make sure you're taking the right classes at the community college and help you get connected with the right people at Portland State and make sure it's a smooth transition.
Starting at a different institution and then also connecting with us to ensure that you're taking the right courses. We ultimately want to ensure that you're taking the right courses, that you're maximizing your time, that you're getting the right requirements to come in to the institution that you're planning to transfer, what we call major ready. So for example, for us at OSU, we have representatives at the different community colleges guiding students to ensure that they're taking the right courses for the right major so that when they transfer, those courses do count. So it also involves the admissions process, and oftentimes students don't know that about transferring. So transferring does require for you to opt and apply to the institution to meet certain requirements. And so it's great to connect with us early on to ensure that you're meeting those requirements, to ensure that you know the different deadlines for transferring to submit the application, different deadlines for scholarship applications.
Transferring ideally means saving a lot of money. The community colleges are often less expensive than four-year universities. And I think another big benefit of transferring, or where it can be really helpful, is if maybe your GPA wasn't quite what you wanted it to be in high school. The community colleges can sometimes be more lenient with their admission requirements, and they can help make sure and really build you up so that you're ready academically for the four-year university.
My advice for high school seniors that are thinking about transferring, so starting at a community college or another college and university, and then transferring to another university to finish out your bachelor's degree, is to think about the entire plan. So first, start thinking to yourself, is it a bachelor's degree that I want and need for my career goal or educational plan? If so, then start to think, okay, what universities offer that bachelor's degree? If you're undecided, then it kind of doesn't matter. But if you say want to study something and you find that 3 universities in the state of Oregon offer this major, start looking at that university. And then when you come to PCC, we can help advise you on the right classes you need to take to transfer to that program. We can start talking to you about scholarship opportunities and financial aid for that university that you need to prepare for. The community college really helps you get those core classes that you're going to need no matter where you go: math, writing, electives, and lower level major classes. But it helps us to know where you're headed so that you are taking the right classes for that university. If you are undecided or you're choosing between 2 or 3 universities, that's fine. But I think knowing your whole plan early on really helps save time and money. So you're not taking classes that you don't need, but you're also taking specific classes that are required for specific universities. So start thinking about that entire journey now.
I would say, make sure to start reaching out to your 4-year destination as early as possible. I think sometimes transfer students have a tendency to wait until their last year or their last quarter at the community college to start connecting with 4-year universities. And your first quarter at the community college, honestly, is not too soon to start connecting with 4-year universities. But in that same vein, if you just don't know where you want to go and don't know where you want to study, that's another one of the other beautiful things about going to the community college, is that it will give you that opportunity to explore. And so I would say, if you don't know, start reaching out to the career services offices and get to know your professors, and reach out to us as soon as you can.
Out who the transfer admissions manager is and connect with them early on. They will give you the transfer guides. They will help you create a plan for you to take the necessary courses, again, specifically to your community college and specifically to the major that you want to go for.
One of the things I always tell students is to add both the universities and the community colleges to your financial aid applications all the time. So you might come to a point where you are done with the classes at the community college that you're taking and you're ready to transfer, and it happens sooner than you thought. So continuing to include the universities and the community college into your FAFSA means that you're sort of always planning ahead in case you end up transferring early. And because you just never know what will happen, or maybe you need an additional year at the community college before you transfer to the university. So it's kind of hard in a way to plan ahead. But working with the academic advisors at both the community college and the transfer advisors at the university at the same time is really helpful, because it will give you a better sense of when that transfer will happen. One other thing I wanted to just quickly mention is called dual enrollment. So some students will start to slowly transfer over. What that means is you'll still be taking maybe a couple classes with the community college, but then you can start taking a couple classes at the university at the same time. And so that's something, if you are going to do that, to also be in close communication with both academic advisors and transfer advisors plus financial aid to make that transition a little smooth. So That's, I think, my tip on how to start planning ahead is also just plan for whatever comes your way, because things can change.
Once you know what you want to study, then you can start to narrow down your options. And so if you don't know what you want to study, it's to some degree futile to start looking into universities, because you may set your sights on a university that doesn't, there's only a couple of schools in Oregon that offer engineering. So if that's ultimately what you want to study, then that's going to end up making some of the decision for you. So my advice would be to try and think about what you want to study first, and then looking at universities.
Different schools have different deadlines, so make sure that you're paying attention to the different deadlines for admissions, not only for admissions, but if you're planning to apply for scholarships. There are different scholarship deadlines depending on if you're applying for scholarships at the institution or if you're applying for scholarships outside. Be sure to know those different deadlines. And again, if you are planning to read all the requirements to ensure that you have everything submitted by the deadline to be considered for those different opportunities when it comes to all the different things that we have to offer. Again, for transfer students, especially at OSU, it's a lot about deadlines. So if you want to do research, if you want to do internships, be sure that you know those different deadlines. Be sure that you start exploring those things. And I'm going to bring it up to that thing that I mentioned at the beginning. Start planning early on, at least a year in advance, so that you know what's coming up, so that you have a plan as to like when you're going to be submitting things.
I personally think it's important to get an associate's degree before you transfer to the university for a couple of reasons. First, we just kind of never know what's going to happen. So you have a degree to put on your resume when you're done at the community college.
I do want to make it clear that it's not necessary, at least for OSU, for us, it's not necessary. It's not mandated for a student to have an AAOT for them to be able to apply as a transfer student. Really, as long as they meet the criteria for admissions, then they could apply at any given time. Sure, there are times where an AAOT is great to have. And like Jennifer mentioned, for us, it guarantees that the student is going to come in junior standing for registration purposes. And then it also guarantees all of the baccalaureate requirements or general education requirements will be complete with the AAOT.
Once you have 30 credits, as far as definitions are concerned at Portland State, you're considered a transfer student. So at that point, we're no longer looking at your high school grades. I think it's worth mentioning. So if your sole priority is just getting, moving past your high school grades, then 30 community college credits would be enough to get you admitted without your high school grades. Like Jose said, you don't have to have an associate's degree. There's not necessarily an inherent advantage, and it's going to be really degree specific. So if you don't know what you want to study or where you want to transfer, then definitely just stay at the community college, get your 2-year degree. But if you do know what you want to study and where you want to transfer, let's get you connected and make sure that staying at the community college for 2 years and getting your associate's degree makes sense. And I will add that there is, while Jose and I are both saying that it's not necessarily required or mandatory to get your transfer degree, there's no guaranteed benefit. There is research, like Jennifer was alluding to, that shows that students that are successful in getting their associate's degree are more likely to persist and continue on to complete their bachelor's degree. So there's definite value there.